What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Hungover Podcast episode 156. Let's go with that.
We are so good at this. We have finally mastered podcasting.
We really have. I'm actually 100% hungover today, for real. This is the big time, boys. We made it to the Hungover Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Julien.
And I'm the not hungover, gonna be loud as ever in Julien's ear, Ivan. And today we're gonna talk about something that just came out, so recent that we're gonna actually be able to be like on the forefront of news, which is something that Julien has always been telling me. We need to be hitting the headlines that are just coming out.
We have to.
And so we're relevant. This is no evergreen podcast. This is front of the headlines newspaper stuff.
Don't listen to this in a year. We're getting all the views in one day. And that's it for this podcast. Don't even think about it.
That's what we want. We're haute couture. We're going to be talking about the news that just dropped. Some updates for the Steamdeck. No more rumors. Steam has an announcement.
It's pretty sweet. It is pretty sweet looking. Anyways, we're going to get into that, but we always start our podcast out every single week by asking each other, what media have you been consuming, Ivan, and what did you drink last night?
Bruh.
Also, I haven't talked to you in like 3 weeks, so this might be a longer segment. Let's get into it.
What have I been doing? Did I... Wait. What? Where am I? What has happened? Did I tell you that I went to the movie theaters and saw A Quiet Place 2 like a while ago? I must have, right?
Yeah,
I talked about that movie experience?
Yeah,
that was like too long ago. Alright, because that was when I went to Texas. Alright, I'm all discombobulated. What's happened to me is work has picked up significantly. We start filming this week, as it would be for when the podcast comes out. And that means that my workload has increased like 150 to 200% a day. So there are multiple days this past week where I was doing over 12 hours a day at work. And last Friday I did the same thing, and I was just too exhausted over the weekend. So I wasn't able to record with Julien. Julien was really disappointed because I didn't message that well. So we're going to air out that grievance right here on the podcast, everybody. Drama. So yeah, I'm sorry, Julien. I had no energy. Man. I needed to recoup. This weekend,
we needed a break.
Much better.
Podcast.
Because here's what happened. July 4th weekend, I moved down from Syracuse, all my stuff. Here's the story of how that happened. I was going to fly out on Friday, and I was supposed to grab this, basically it's the last flight out of Saigon, and a storm raged across the plains of Texas and shut down all of these American Airlines flights. You know how you've been reading about American has been having trouble and had to cut down on flights and is canceling left and right, just tossing out the canceled tickets. Yeah. I was one of said canceled tickets, basically, because the airline got delayed so much that I would have missed my last connecting flight. And then they're like, okay, we've got a great option for you. How would you like to get to Syracuse on Sunday? And I was like, that doesn't work at all. And they were like, okay, let me put you on hold. An hour and 15 minutes later, with no at all check-in on me. I'm just on the hold line.
Sick.
An hour and 15 minutes later, they're like, we can get you into Rochester tomorrow night at 10 p.m.
Not serious.
I want you on this flight into Washington, D.C. You stay there overnight on your own time, and then we'll fly you at 10 o'clock the next day. I'm like, guys, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? There's no better that you can do. So they're like, we'll take a look. And then they put me on hold for another 10 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And at this point, I am like, I've already bought a Delta flight for the next day.
Sick. Yep.
So he came back on and he was like, nope, the best we can do is getting you to Rochester, which is an hour away from my destination the next night at like 10 p.m. I was like, no thanks, it doesn't work, cancel the whole thing. The problem is I booked that ticket using my points, so I don't know how I still have to figure out how I'm going to get reimbursed for that, because I apparently got reimbursed, but I have no idea where this reimbursement has gone to.
Okay.
So now I'm out between the two flights, like all of my points, and having to book a next day flight. It's like $1,000, unless I can figure out how that reimbursement can get back into my pocket.
Oof.
So I leave the airport. So basically, I've spent $90 in Ubers back and forth by the time I fly out.
Oh my god!
And the next day on Saturday, perfect flight back straight to through Detroit to Buffalo. Beautiful. I get into to my dad's house where we're unloading stuff at like 7:30, and Laura's not there. Laura. In the meantime, on Saturday, I was supposed to get into Syracuse on Friday, help her with the movers on Saturday, and then execute the supervision of the load-in on Saturday. Mm-hmm. However, our brilliant moving company, this is, kids, every single time. This is like every single time. You go through, you talk to all these moving companies, and the cheapest one is staring you in the face. And you go, man, it's like $500 less than the next one. And you say, I've heard all these stories about people using the cheapest moving company and things happen and it's not great. But you're like, that ain't me. I'm good. It's a short move. I'm just moving from Syracuse to Buffalo. I can literally drive behind the truck. There's nothing that can go wrong. I'm here to tell you, spend the extra $500, spend the extra $600, whatever it is, don't go with the bottom tier bid.
What did they do?
So they gave us a window from 10 to 1. I was like, okay, that's fine. Normal stuff. Everybody, like Laura's parents were like, oh, they'll show up at 10. They just want to get it done and out of the way. They didn't show up until 4:30. Which means they didn't get out of Syracuse until 7:30, basically when I arrived. Which means they didn't They didn't have a what?
Like an expert team on the job that can just move the boxes real fast into the truck?
They had 2 guys.
Ugh.
One older and one a young kid.
Yep,
who was
that's the classic combo, dude.
Classic combo. And didn't have his inhaler.
Oh.
So I'm like fucking killing him because we have to store this stuff at my dad's house because it's free storage space essentially on the 3rd floor, which means that these guys have to huff it up 2 flights of stairs, and the one kid doesn't have his inhaler. So needless to say, they get in around 9. About an hour into the unload process, my dad is furious. They knocked over one picture frame. Damaged the plastic picture frame a little bit that you can't even see, and he's like, you have ruined my reputation and my house. You have besmirched the Bakken name.
God damn it.
So I was like, you're ridiculous. Anyway, it led into a huge argument with my pops, but that's beside the point. About an hour into this process.
What? You're always fighting with your dad. Classic.
I mean, we're 2 very
different,
both disciplined and hard-headed men.
Yes.
That both have our own strong opinions, and he thinks that his way is the only way, and I'm like, there's multiple ways to do things, and thus we argue. So regardless, about an hour into this process, these fellas are not making headway. I'm like, this is not happening. So I strip down and I start fucking huffing boxes up and down the stairs.
What am I paying you guys for?
These guys had been working 6 a.m. And classic me, I just kind of like paid them what they asked and a little more for a tip. But like, man, it was a hell of a time, a hell of a night. So after that, like 3 hours of me helping these guys lug boxes up and down, and Laura, God bless her for packing up the house by herself.
Yeah.
She also said, "Fuck it," a lot of the times with the load of the book of the boxes. So there was a large box
with books,
like
yeah,
2 by 2 by 2, 3 or 4 by 2 by 2, and it's just books. And I'm like, this is impossible. So some of the boxes were impossibly heavy. Other boxes were totally great. And it was just a mixed bag. You never know what you're going to get into. Anyway, by the end of it, everybody was exhausted. I had catered the event by Dinosaur Barbecues, so we gave those guys a plate each. We sent them on their merry way. And then it was us driving down from Buffalo to Louisville, which was only 7.5-ish hours. It was not bad of a drive. The cats were great. Laura did a really good job of like getting these hormones that will calm them down and getting them ready for being in the carriers for so long. Then we arrive at the place in Louisville, and it's not been turned over. So there's no linens on the bed.
Oh, God.
There's a pack of linens, dirty linens in a closet in the back room, in the bed, in a closet in the bathroom. So luckily there was a washer dryer in the unit, so I just washed those things, then put them on, and the internet crapped out. So we were trying to watch something at the end of the night. This is 4th of July. We went to the Louisville like fireworks on the Mississippi, not the Mississippi, it couldn't have been the Mississippi, but we went to the fireworks. Then we came back. We wanted to watch a little Gilmore Girls, relax from a long day, then head to bed. We had to wait for the sheets to dry, and then we would be able to watch 5 minutes, and then it would crap out.
Ugh, come on.
And then 5 minutes later, it would come back on, and then like 10 minutes crap out.
That sucks.
It was the worst. I passed out. The next day we finished the drive, unloaded. So the cats are here. They're getting used to it. Of course, one of the couches has a big hole underneath, and all of the underneath fabric is just cut up.
Yep.
So they're hiding inside the couch. It's great.
They love that shit.
Work has been tough, and getting like used to having a girlfriend here at the same time. So like between commuting to work and being at work, that's like 12 to 13 hours. So I have very little time at home to do other things. I have continued to read. I'm finishing up my book on salt, and I started a really cool book on Genghis Khan that I'm really in love with.
Nice.
Yeah, so that I've been trying to read more as a relaxation method instead of consuming media and video games. But I did get Laura into Donnie Brasco because I started watching Sopranos clips on YouTube at work. And then I was like, man, Donnie Brasco is such a good movie. And so I showed Laura 15 minutes of Donnie Brasco the other night, and she got hooked. So we're slowly making our incremental way through Donnie Brasco, but it takes. We have so little time. Like I got home from work at like 9 o'clock last night. Well, like actually 15 minutes before 9, and then we had reservations at a really good restaurant down the block from me called Giacomo's at 9. So we rushed over there. I had a neck of lamb.
Nice. Which
was awesome.
Yeah, man.
I've never had it before. It's such a good cut of meat.
It's delicious, yeah.
Slow roasted. There's I had 2 huge vertebrae, which look really cool.
Lamb neck ossobuco. Yeah, man.
It was awesome. And I had that for breakfast too, because have you had the Louisiana cheesecake when you were down here?
No.
It's gator sausage and shrimp in like a savory cheesecake form.
Oh.
It's amazing.
Sounds
They gave me like a little slice for an appetizer, and I was like, this is one of the only appetizers where I wish I had just the more. It was perfect. And I had a Sazerac too with dinner. It was my first Sazerac in New Orleans, and it was superb. The Sazerac is such a good drink.
Wow, man. All right.
And Laura had a hurricane, the Giacomo's take on a hurricane, and it was awful.
Fucking.
It was a good version of the hurricane, but just the hurricane itself is so terrible.
You gotta get one though. Knock yourself out.
When our buddy comes down next weekend, I have to work on Saturday now, but on Sunday, hopefully, we'll be able to hang out and I'll swig some hurricanes with him. What did you get drunk on, man? Now that I've taken up 30 minutes of the podcast. Oh
God, I don't even want to think about it. I'm very not functioning very well right now. I decided that I wanted to drink sake. Oh, I love Junmai sake. So Daniel and I polished off a bottle. No problem. Ooh. Coming back up. Sorry.
Holy shit, you're in a bad way.
Yeah. Sorry.
This is the True Hungover podcast.
Yep.
All right, everyone. Well, Julien is incredibly brave for starting this podcast when he was in this way. Man, I would have pulled the plug on being able to do it at this point. That is pretty astounding that he was wanting to power through this. Not only that, I gave him 5 different topics, and he made a decision. He was with it. Can we talk about how great the Olympics are going to be in terms of a drinking culture that is incredibly prolific in Japan? And what I'm looking at here is an Olympic Games Tokyo sake set, where they have a blue, yellow, black, green, and red sake bottle so that you can drink the Olympics in sakes. It's great. I mean, wonderful bringing together of cultures and peoples from around the world in the greatest athletic prowess competition that we can have. I mean, let's set aside the fact that does Japan need to proceed? I mean, they're having a lot of issues with COVID at the moment. They went into another lockdown, probably in preparation for the Olympics, but man, it'll be great.
Okay, Hungover podcast. Very hungover. Don't worry about that. I drank... Sorry. I drank Junmai. I actually feel a lot better now. I drank Junmai. This is the ultimate... We peaked on the internet just now. I drank some Junmai, which is one of my favorite types of sake. It's usually a little... it's like a crisp, clean flavor. Has a little sweetness to it, and it's really nice. But... I also wanted to try some shochu, which is a distilled spirit. It's usually distilled. It's like a fortified sake, essentially.
Okay.
But they're usually around 25%. And they're made from 3 things. You can either get one made from sweet potato, you can get one made from rice, or barley, I believe. Those are the 3 things in Japan that they have abundance of, I guess. So they make alcohol out of it. It was nice. And I also got a yuzu sake,
which was
was really great. That was top.
I love yuzu.
Oh,
Yuzu,
man.
I think, has made a strong resurgence in terms of flavor recently.
Yeah.
I think it's one of these cyclical flavor enhancers, but it's made a strong case lately of being the number one flavor that I'm looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. But essentially, I made the mistake of challenging Daniel to a game of Drinkio Kart, which is our classic, what we used to get drunk off. What was it Modelo Especial? We would just chug those. And I'm not exactly 24 anymore, so I can't exactly do that very well anymore. Let's put it that way. So I'm paying for it right now, but I think I feel a lot better. I'm sorry. There was a brief. I'm going to have to edit that out. Yeah, it's going to be great. But yeah, no, aside from that, yesterday I got myself a new monitor.
Hey!
In sort of because my main squeeze, my 4K 120 hertz monitor crapped out on me. It started.
No!
I purchased it in 2019, refurbished. It was a Acer Predator monitor. It was really nice. Yeah. 4K 120 hertz. I was playing Overwatch in 4K 120. But I did. This is one of the few times this has ever happened to me in my life. I did purchase the Micro Center warranty on it, Ivan.
My man.
A 2-year warranty. And I lost the receipt, and I'm like, whatever. I'll just go ask them if I still have this warranty, because this monitor was $800. And it started giving me black horizontal lines across it, just indefinitely. And I asked them if they could look me up with my phone number or something, and they looked it up. They're like, yeah, you have a warranty on this until December. So it's like, I'm coming over on my next day off. See you guys soon. Brought the monitor in, and they had some sort of complication with officializing my warranty, but they're like, we're gonna I kept thinking about this in my head. This is how I wanted to tell the story on the podcast. We're old men honoring our agreement, come back to become young men again. I kept saying that in my head. I don't know why, because I'm a fucking dweeb. But they actually Micro Center's pretty sick, dude. There's only like 30 locations across the United States, but they're pretty cool, man. They honored their agreement with me, and they bought me out. They gave me an $800 gift card to Micro Center. Just completely refunded it for me because I purchased this $100 2-year warranty. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go look around the old Micro Center store right now. I've got $800 to spend here. And so I decided that instead of getting the same monitor again, I wanted to try out an ultra-wide monitor, Vaughn. So now I'm looking at you in 21:9 ratio. It's pretty sick. It's 3,440 pixels by 1440, so it's a 1440p panel, 2K panel, but it's ultra wide, 34 inches. It was only $400, so I still have like $300 to spend at Micro Center. So I basically upgraded in a way. 144 hertz also. So
and G to G?
Yeah. This is it's MSI. It's a really nice monitor. I like it a lot.
Yeah, what's the gray to gray?
I actually took a picture of the statistics.
That's really cool. I actually can talk to you then about the ultra wide monitor I bought for work.
Is it pixel pitch that you want, or?
No, but pixel pitch is an excellent. I was thinking of the gray to gray.
I don't think they advertise. I have the brightness, and
how many nits? What is your nits count?
250. It's not. It doesn't get that. Oh, native contrast 3,000 to 1. I don't know.
Ooh,
what that means.
That's not bad.
250 CD over meter squared. per meter squared. I don't really know. It's a nice monitor. I like it a lot. Got it for $400, and I figured, I'm upgrading in a way because it's a higher refresh rate, downgrading in a way, but I still have $300 to spend, and it's a great monitor. And it's bigger too, so I'm really happy about this purchase, and it's working out. So now I have 2 vertical monitors, 1 ultra wide. I'm ready to start coding, because I'm moving along ahead with my coding.
There you go.
With my buddy Mako. We're getting along. I'm learning how to put in basic security measures in my login system, so I'm working on that. But yeah, other than that, I had to reinstall Windows as well because I got a virus on my computer from downloading Sega Saturn games.
That makes total sense.
It's just karma. So I ended up actually purchasing a hard drive with every single Sega Saturn game from a company that maybe shouldn't exist. I don't know. They're definitely just selling ROMs of Sega Saturn games, so I won't advertise them because I don't want them to go down, because it was actually awesome. So they sent me an SSD with every single Sega Saturn game, both English and Japanese games, and I plugged that bad boy into my modded Sega Saturn, so now I have every Sega Saturn game ever, including demo discs and random shit like that. So I'm very pleased with myself, and I play a lot of Sega Saturn now. But yeah, that is clean install Windows, and then I did that. Ivan, you know what the Sega Saturn can't do, though?
It can't have the 32-inch curved 4K Ultra HD monitor that I also purchased for work.
Whoa! This guy.
I sent it the link. That's the one that I just purchased for work because I was tired of having 2 monitors on my desk. So I just bought one big one. So we're both moving into the ultra-wide game. Ba, 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 ba.
I played Overwatch. The first thing I had to do was boot up Overwatch. I put it in 21:9 ratio. Overwatch doesn't have that. It doesn't allow you to increase the field of view over 103. So 21:9 Overwatch is actually not an optimal way to play it. But it looks cool, I will admit. I had to try it.
Fully immersive.
Yeah.
You know what else is going to be fully immersive? When you're on the train and you got yourself Cyberpunk 2077 right in your face.
Yes. Let's talk about the new announcement from Valve, the Steamdeck.
Wow.
The Switch killer.
Is this going to be a way for you to help stream? Is it a stream deck, Julien?
No, Vaughn. This is the Steam Deck, Valve's portable Steam console, where you will be able to take your entire Steam library with you on the go. And depending on what game you're playing, you might get 5 to 6 hours of battery life on it. But it's also more than that, Ivan. It can do some other things, such as browse the internet and such. Can only connect to Wi-Fi. You won't be able to put your data card into it. There's multiple different SKUs depending on how much, how much storage you want. Going up, ranging
how many
from
fazools you're gonna drop?
Fazuli, Fusili, the 64 gig version goes for 400. It ranges to 512 gigs. But if you ever want to play, I guess you can't play Warzone on Steam, but maybe you can, because you can can't you get Steam to boot games that aren't sold on Steam somehow? I think.
Man, right? I'm the wrong person to ask.
I only play Steam games, but regardless,
I do it the simplest way possible.
Regardless, this is a really huge announcement. conveniently announced the same day as Switch OLED models go on pre-order. I think this was definitely a calculated strike to garner everyone's attention on the internet.
I'm good at
Ivan,
calculations.
I'm good at calculation.
There's a Dark Knight quote for everything.
Ivan, tell me, what's your first impressions of this?
My first impression is that the $400 version is garbage and no one should get it.
No. Trash.
And then after that, so realistically, we're talking about an either $530 or $650 piece of hardware.
Yeah.
How much do the OLED Switches retail for?
$350.
$350. So you're paying a premium to be able to play 720p computer games on the trade or wherever.
Yes, and you're gonna be able to play those indie games before they come to the Switch, though, on the go.
Huh? But thankfully, everything comes to the Switch like 6 years later. But who cares at that point? You know, I will say the one thing that I think that this gives you is the ubiquity of Steam.
Yeah.
So Steam will be your on the couch with your whatever setup that you have there, at your computer desk with your Haas, on your fucking laptop at work when you should be doing your cost reports, your TPP reports.
We're talking about you, Captain Vidya.
And then when you go to the bathroom, you plug this right into your back pocket. It's so discreet.
Yeah, you can totally fit this in your pocket.
And then you're sitting on the John playing your Cyberpunks and your Witchers, which you could. Witcher you can play on Switch, right?
Yeah, you can. I played it a little bit. It's not bad. I mean, it's also not running at 720p though. It's running at 540p, and it chugs. But
here's my question: with the size, it's a 7-inch touchscreen,
and I believe it's OLED.
Is it OLED? I thought it was just LED.
Is it LED? Okay, fine.
The thing is, let me find. You find the screen.
Sure.
But what I think that this is just trying to make it ease of use everywhere. So one of the things that I think Apple brings to such a powerful part of Apple's whole package is that everything that they do easily unifies and transfers across systems. Mm-hmm. You can text on your Mac, your MacBook, your MacBook Pro, whatever,
that is really
and your
cool.
phone.
Messages,
which means that you can pull screenshots into a text message, pull them out, and it's super easy, quick, ubiquitous. Is gaming the same thing, or have we, especially in the modern digital age, become used to having multiple different game libraries that we have to manage? Is this going to be an object that breaks down the need to have multiple libraries and figure out where all the games are? Or, since you still can't get Nintendo games onto the Steam Deck, you're still going to need the Nintendo Switch. Mm-hmm. Is the draw being able to play computer games on the go? Or is the draw the specific games that you will be playing that you want to engage with? So I think that's the question that we have here is there a hardcore or a casual game? Well, I think at the price point that they're setting, it's got to be a hardcore style gamer. This is a very expensive piece of hardware. It's basically a new computer that you can just move around. Yeah. So are people going to buy a computer that's mobile just so that they can play games on the move, or and have a unified library across all of those places? Or do you have the mobile console because those are where the games that you want to play are?
Ivan, that's a great question. I would say this is probably going to be... So I think there's probably two big audiences for this. This is going to be a really good entry point for a lot of people who are maybe primarily console players, to dive into playing PC games, specific PC games, I guess. Maybe through the ability of playing the games that they like on their consoles that are also on Steam, and then they can delve into what all the nonsense bullshit on Steam. They can also sift through that and find, maybe like a tactical RPG or like a you can play, what are they, real-time strategy games. All those computer nerds, open up your spreadsheets and shit. So I think there's that audience. I think you can use spreadsheets in this. There's going to be that audience, which I think is a pretty cool way for someone to get into PC gaming through this nice 1280 by 800 pixel screen. Ivan, it's a 16 by 10 aspect ratio. Gotta bring it back. A little more height. That's pretty nice. It's an LCD screen. IPS, of course. What is IPS in? In-panel
switching.
Yeah,
so
right.
IPS helps with eye fatigue.
Yes, they're awesome. 7-inch diagonal, 400 nits, typical. 60 hertz refresh rate, touch enabled, ambient light sensor. It's got Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, something that the Nintendo Switch struggles with and doesn't even have. Bluetooth, I'm really pissed off. Doesn't have that. And you can also add a micro SD card if you want to expand the storage. The two more expensive models, so the 256 gig and the 512 gig, have NVMe SSDs. The 512 one is going to be a high-speed one, PCIe. And the 256 gig doesn't really say it's high-speed. But I think this is also going to be a nice addition to someone. I might not necessarily get it because I don't really play a lot of Steam games. And I personally don't think it looks that nice. This is like typical Valve design. I just don't really like their design too much. I think it looks kind of clunky, personally. I think it
does look clunky.
The controllers on either side of the screen are too wide, in my opinion. It's not very sleek, rather.
How else are you going to stick your 16 different input versions?
Bruh, you're right. I need to have every control possible, all the macros. But yeah, it's gonna be for someone like me or you who plays a lot of Steam games. This is nice if you commute and you can play games on your commute.
It's gonna be hard to drive,
play video games. Which is not the majority of people. A lot of people drive to work, right? So this is maybe for the kid. Throw it in the back for the kid,
For $500, and it's a very expensive.
Imagine the cases for this thing.
I know,
Make
right?
it even bulkier.
I imagine that it's probably like as few moving parts as possible, right?
Yeah.
But still, I don't know.
But it also has
for some reason, like a handheld console always feels to me like it's slightly more it's like better designed for hard use, like like kids.
Yeah,
like
that's right.
But
yeah,
this feels different. Like when you're this is
like
a little
primo
computer.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is too expensive to hand this to little Junior in the back.
Well, I'm okay.
When he loses in FIFA and he throws it against the car door.
So I'm intrigued about this console specifically because Sony has been slowly but surely porting a lot of their games to PC. You see Horizon Zero Dawn out there. They've got Death Stranding. Stranding type video games are my favorite genre, Yvonne. So And they have Metal Gear Solid 5 I could play. So these are the types of games I would end up playing on this thing.
Bring me Metal Gear Solid 4.
I know, I wish. Not I don't see how you're gonna be able to play a strategy RPG, or the real-time strategy games. You really need a mouse and keyboard for those. Which you can hook up to this thing once you hook it up to its dock, but
you can also hook up fighting pads or whatever.
Yeah, Fight Stick has 2 USB ports, has one 3.0 USB. It has a display port, HDMI, power, Ethernet, big deal. And, it's pretty sweet. So
it's got a lot packed into a very small form factor.
Exactly. It is a very impressive piece of tech. I would definitely want to play something like Death Stranding on this, or Horizon Zero Dawn is a really cool thing to be able to take on the go, those types of games. So, and I'm sure Sony has, and like I said, Sony has been slowly porting its games. I think they're going to bring Ghost of Tsushima and God of War eventually. So this would be a really cool way to play them portably. So do you think this thing's going to kill the Switch, Yvonne? Or is Nintendo just a rolling rock down the hill? You can't stop them.
No, this is this is the question that I brought up earlier. Like,
yeah, I know.
Who is this for? And I think, I mean, it sounds good, but how many times has Steam tried to create this kind of hardware, or somebody's tried to create this kind of hardware, and it just doesn't have a strong enough draw? I think one of the reasons that the Nintendo Switch is so successful is that is the modern console, right? There is no alternative to play the newest set of games than playing it on the Switch.
Yeah. When
you have so many different ways that you can play Steam games, then I think you run into, this isn't going to overtake the market, right? This is going to be... So then you have to take a look at, when we're talking about handheld consoles, I think it will eat in, but I think it's going to be a Switch Plus kind of thing. Like when people bought the Xbox and the Xbox 360 and the PS2. They got the PS4 and the whatever Xbox it was at the time.
It boils down to exclusive games, I would say. Nintendo has, the only place you can play Nintendo games, unless you do it illegally on your computer, is on the Switch or whatever Nintendo console of your choice, right? You can't play Mario anywhere else. You can't play Zelda anywhere else. And those games started the video game industry to a certain extent. So they've been around for 35 years at this point. So
that's a huge cult deal. Like built-in fan base. I think it will be the case that this is going to be, like I was saying, an additional piece of hardware and not overtake, because there's not going to be the same games that you can play in the two different places, and it is a very expensive price point, especially in comparison to the Nintendo Switch, which has even cheaper price points to play the same games, right, with the Switch Lite. So I think if it does develop a market, it's going to be extremely niche.
Yeah.
I think this will have high success rates in major urban centers where you have public transport that's built out, like a New York City. Maybe we'll even see, I think, interestingly, I wonder what this will do in foreign markets, like in Japan. I don't know the extent to which PC gaming, etc., has developed there, but maybe this is an entry point where from what I recall, a lot of statistics about gaming in places like Japan is it's much more console-based than PC-based. So when you're introducing a PC handheld gaming system, will this be able to break through in those markets? So are they looking not to break through into a global market, say this is going to be the handheld thing, but find places where there are strange or PC averse markets where they're going to be able to break in? And eventually down the line, like technology gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, right? So maybe down the line the price points will even out. But I still think that the hardware is just so massively overpowered that like this thing, when you attach to the dock, Valve claims that you can play 4K 120 hertz.
Jesus.
So that was what I read on the Gizmodo report. So it's interesting that we're going to have such a strong, powerful piece of hardware. I think, if anything, this won't replace the commuter handheld device. But what it could do is replace the living room PC that certain types of people have. So if you can just plug this into a dock,
that's really
but
cool.
also be able to take it with you. So now you can play your 4K 120 hertz games on your TV, but also be able to move that into the bathroom when you need
Who
to
has
take
a
your
120 hertz TV? That's crazy. I know they exist, but not many people have a 120 hertz TV.
Yeah, I know.
No, that's true. It could definitely easily replace my. For instance, I've got a living room PC. I use it to stream, but I don't think this thing will be capable.
Yeah, I wonder what the stream capabilities are.
That's actually a really good question, considering that's probably gonna be one of their biggest markets. Is streamers. You know, people who. If this can stream also, this would be nice for them if they need to do like a portable stream or something. That would be sick. But I think it's more likely that you would want to capture what this thing's outputting and then stream it with your PC, I guess. But that would be a weird play around situation.
Yeah, that's going to be...
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think about these streaming implications. In terms of...
It's because you never think about streaming, Ivan. I'm always thinking about streaming.
But do you think Elgato is going to have to develop like a Wi-Fi / card, like capture card device?
No, because this thing you can already use Elgato with if you just capture the HDMI output. I would from the dock, but being able to stream from this handheld, that would be crazy.
I know, like a little USB-C dongle that is both a capture card and able to shortwave broadcast to like a phone or something.
That would be crazy. That's too much.
Like a Bluetooth signal.
We don't need to give streamers that much power, Ivan. That's too much. It's too much.
It is a lot. I mean, that implication alone is going to be super interesting to see if they can have that kind of what that capability would be.
Yeah. Well,
man, that seems like an expansive market. If you could create that device, that's the future. Cut this out, everyone. We're working on this.
So, all in all, this thing, you know, a lot of people are pre-ordering it. It looks really exciting.
It's an interesting pre-order system too, because of the chip shortage. You have to reserve by putting a $5 down, which will go towards the end price point, and then you get, I think, put into a queue basically with those $5 reservations. That then, when your time comes up or whatever, then you get put into the availability to purchase it. Nice. Which is not unlike the Newegg Shuffle, which I have been entering religiously for 30, 40 days. You're going to get a 3090? Realistically, I'm going to get any of the 3000 series, preferably above 3060. But to upgrade on my 1080, I mean, anything will be an upgrade, right?
Did you just watch Linus Tech Tips? Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Anything would be. They were saying you can basically get the same performance, like the difference between high and very high, there's like a law of diminishing returns, and in graphics settings it's just not worth the investment, or potentially not worth the investment. I mean, obviously if you're looking for it, you're looking for it, but it's very difficult to tell the difference between like high and very high, and then very high and ultra settings. But you need the 3090 to run ultra settings at whatever frame rate, right? But the 3070 will run the high or very high pretty well, like efficiently, depending on your resolution, and you can't really tell the difference that much. Yeah.
Which is why I was just like, toss them all in the cart.
Yeah.
Any of them will do. The only one that I didn't really want is the 3060, because I don't think it will have the longevity of the 3070, 3080, and 3090 in terms of keeping pace with what's going to come down the line. I do think that there is going to be a little bit of a difference in the longevity of those things.
I see.
But I mean, the 1080 was like already like a 2-year-old card, at least when I purchased it. So at that point, now I'm at 5. I bought it in 2017, so that's 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 plus 2, so that's a 7-year-old card. So I feel like it's well worth the upgrade. And I'm not going to throw it away. My goal is to build up another PC with an AMD, and then I'll just kind of keep this PC around to either stick in the living room or do something else with.
That's
or
exactly
make
what
it
I
my
did.
stream. Yeah.
That's what I did when I upgraded my graphics card. I made another PC and put it in the living room with 1080. And
but now, is it just worth it to buy this piece of hardware, the Steamdeck, and just stick that in the living room, and then I could take this 1080 and sell it scalped on eBay for the price, basically the price of the Steamdeck?
You could, which is crazy. Why would anyone buy that?
A 7-year-old card that's had pretty decent use, although I keep my PC pretty clean.
I know.
Yeah. I also want a new case, the one that has like tempered glass instead of the plastic that broke the first day I put it together. It was so disappointing.
So awesome. Well, Ivan, this looks like a really interesting piece of hardware. I hope everyone who wants to get it can get it. I know a lot of people are still struggling out there to get PS5s. I follow the PS5 subreddit, and people are like so over it. They're just like, why can't people do this? Why do these online markets? Why won't they just let me pre-order it? Fuck these scalpers. Wait.
I know.
Like, yeah, I was in terms of getting something like a long sought after piece of hardware. If you're diligent enough, like I was, I checked every day, I knew when things were, I had to, you got your tabs open and refreshing and shit. I got one, and you also have to be willing to buy a bundle. So this is probably going to have some sort of bundle associated with it when you purchase it from Target or wherever the fuck you're going to buy it from. But also you can just reserve it on the Steamdeck website, I guess. So they might be
just been diligently putting into the Newegg Shuffle, and I'm not looking to spend a billion amount of dollars at any given moment. So if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
That's the way to look at. That's the outlook you gotta have with this type of thing. You can't just spend your entire life doing it. It sucks. But look, I hope everyone gets the item that they want. Everyone's gone through a really long year and a half of a pandemic, and everyone needs that little bit of joy in their life. And if the PS5 or the Steam Deck does it for you, I hope you get it. Are you gonna get one of these, Ivan?
No. I'm not the market for it.
I'm really because I guess you're not a big commuter in terms of you can play games on your commute, and even if you could, you'd probably be reading your book, which is a great alternative. Just go buy a book, kids. You don't need this Steam Deck thing. There's a billion books out there. Just go read
I
one.
took a 2-year break from physically reading books, and now I'm back into it.
You're ready to go. I like the draw of being able to play the PlayStation games that come to Steam is really enticing to me. So I may purchase this, but
how funny that that the PlayStation exclusives are not exclusive, but this is the only exclusive handheld device. What a crock!
This is a weird future timeline that we're living in. But and wait, can you play Halo Master Chief Collection on Steam? This is what I gotta look into, because all Microsoft games go to Steam. I gotta look into, can you play like Master Chief Collection on this? I know I booted up from Steam, so surely I can do it. So those are the things that I'm most interested in, is console exclusive games playing on this. If you give me that, maybe I'll purchase it.
Yeah, my Mass Effect 3 Legendary Edition on the go.
That also very enticing. I've been wanting that to come to Switch so I can actually play it. You know, I don't want to waste my fucking time playing that game. My God, again. But if I can do it on my commute, maybe I would do it. So I think this is really big for commuters in metropolitans like New York City, where they can actually sit down and play it. Otherwise, it's really great for people who are just getting into PC gaming. This is sort of like a cheaper
Intel getting
laptop,
another kick in the nads, though.
Yeah, it's an AMD APU.
Yeah.
And I hope everyone gets it if they want it. That's my conclusion.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's edition of the Hungover Podcast. Truly hungover podcast. Julien, I want you to stick that in right now, because I was talking some great stuff. So tune in next week.
I'm just gonna leave it. I have to download my editing software now, so that's gonna be a nightmare. I hope you guys have a great week. We'll catch you guys next week. Goodbye.
Bye.